one-timer. Score! Oh, it's over. It's over. They score!
That's game. Oh my goodness.
Big score. Roll the highlight reel. What a ripper. Top shutter. Spread it on.
It's HNLive today. I'm Sean Mullen. Hope you and your family had a wonderful holiday weekend. I'm on my own this week. Dave Dawson is in transit, heading off to the Junior B Provincials in Alberta, and we'll have that on HNLive.ca. It's a big show, though, very focused on Junior A hockey. We'll talk to Scott McCrory, who's the head coach and general manager of the Oakville Blades, who are hosting this year's Centennial Cup, and will be the streaming provider for that on hockeycanada.ca. They just lost to one of the top teams in the country, the Collingwood Blues, in the playoffs of the OJHL. We'll talk about that and a lot about the tournament and his near run-ins with Scott Stevens and a whole lot more. Mike Reagan will be on. He's the head coach and general manager of the Flin Flon Bombers, one of the top teams in the country, currently into the second round of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League playoffs. That's another team that we certainly could see at the Centennial Cup. And we've got a whole lot more to talk about on the show this week. Brought to you by Adrenaline Source for Sports, Calgary's premier store for hockey, lacrosse, and team apparel. Recently renovated and bigger and better than ever. A one-stop shop for all your sporting good needs. Visit us online at adrenalinegroup.ca. We fit your game. Before we get into the piles of hockey we have to talk about, it was just a huge week for us at HNLive. A lot of it sort of based in the Calgary area or central Alberta. And we got to be part of Dungeon Wrestling Unfinished Business 2. We've been talking about it for weeks, and what a great event it was. The team got to meet Bret Hart. Our broadcast team got to meet Bret Hart before the show and really enjoyed that. Watched him pass the torch to Chris Adonis, the champion for Dungeon Wrestling. Went out there and had a great match against Steve Macklin. It was a terrific card in a packed Victoria Pavilion. Wonderful atmosphere. The first time I've got to see a show there. And if you get a chance to see Dungeon Wrestling at the Victoria Pavilion, you really have to. The next show is going to see the indie god Matt Cardona challenging Chris Adonis. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that one. And another big event we got to be a part of over the week was the Hockey for Ukraine event, which was one of the most special events that I've been able to be a part of as a broadcaster and with HNLive. The Ukrainian U18 national team. All their players, because of the Russian invasion, have been spread out across the hockey world. They haven't had a chance to come together and prepare for the Division 1A U18 World Championships. They didn't even know, the right players for the team yet. And so Gordon Miller, Hockey Canada, or Hockey Calgary, and the Calgary Canucks came together with the Ukrainian national team and created a training camp for them in Calgary at Max Bell Center. They were there for the week. They got to work together, bond again, raise some money for the Ukrainian Hockey Dream, which you can still donate to, and does some great work, and play a couple of exhibition games against a U18 Alberta All-Star team. And the first game, I've never seen an atmosphere like that before as a broadcaster. Ukrainian flags everywhere. If a Ukrainian player just touched the puck, the buzz that built from it, it was just extraordinary, the passion and the emotion on display. The Alberta All-Stars won that game 2-1 in overtime on a Dylan Dietz goal. But then as the team worked at things throughout the week, they found their scoring touch on the weekend and ended up winning on Saturday 8-3, and they looked like they're ready. And we certainly wish the Ukrainian team the best of luck at the World Championship. And I got to talk to Renat Nagniev, who was one of the spark plugs for Ukraine after the second game. You could see that he was really moved by the whole event and the emotion of the fans.
We're joined by one of the stars of the game today, Renat Nagniev, who had 2 goals and was in the middle of everything. Congratulations on the game. How you feeling?
Thank you so much. I'm feeling amazing. Those energy which we get from fans, from crowd, that's amazing. I want to say thank you for all our sponsors and our coaches for organization, and also my favorite country, Ukraine, where I was born. It's amazing feeling to play Canada on this level.
You talked about the atmosphere. What did it mean to you guys as a team to see that crowd, all the Ukrainian flags, and how loud they were? How special was that experience?
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was amazing, like unbelievable experience. Like everyone's cheering for Ukraine, and when we scored, that was like, I don't know, that was crazy, like, to be honest.
Again, we want to wish the Ukrainian U18 team the best of luck at the Division 1A World Championships in Denmark. And thank you to them, to the Canucks, to Hockey Calgary, and everyone for allowing us to be a part of such a special event. And best of luck to them. A champion was crowned. We've been following the Heritage Junior Hockey League all season. We'll talk a little more Junior B later in the program, but congratulations to the Okotoks Bisons, back-to-back-to-back champions in the HJHL. Chris Colwell had the call of that in Game 6 on Saturday. The Bisons defeating the Sylvan Lake Wranglers in 6 games. What a competitive series it was, and kudos to the Wranglers for a wonderful season. And the Bisons will be at the Alberta Junior B Provincials coming up on HNLive.ca. And a bit of a surprise for us, we got a chance to broadcast Game 2 of the Alberta Junior Hockey League semifinal series between the Calgary Canucks and the Drumheller Dragons. Canucks were having a wonderful season. They were leading the series 1-0. We were in the Max Bell Center anyway, so they signed us up to broadcast the second game of the series, and what a game to broadcast. 2-2 game, went to overtime. Some controversy as the Drumheller Dragons thought they'd scored the winner, but the net was off the moorings. Calgary comes back. Bowden singled and strikes a great shot for his second goal of the game. The Calgary captain giving them a 2-0 lead in the series. The Calgary leading Drumheller 2-0 in that series. In the other Alberta Junior Hockey League semifinal, it's a tie between Canmore and Whitecourt, as Canmore got the all-important split on the road. Keep your eye on the Alberta Junior Hockey League playoffs. We'll have a new champion there this year. In the Ontario Junior Hockey League, the host Oakville Blades knocked out by the Collingwood Blues. We'll talk to Scott McCrory in just a moment. Meanwhile, the Trenton Golden Hawks swept the Toronto Junior Canadians. St. Michael's Buzzers and Cobourg Cougars are tied at 3 games apiece in the East Conference semifinal. And the Leamington Flyers dispatched Milton 4-1. So 3 out of the 4 teams have advanced on to the league semifinal as we await the winner of St. Michael's and Cobourg. And this is all leading towards the Centennial Cup coming up in May. And we're the streaming providers for the Centennial Cup on hockeycanada.ca, one of the nation's great events, and we're really looking forward to that coming up in Oakville. And we're joined now by the coach and general manager of the host Oakville Blades, who will be hosting the Centennial Cup coming up this year in May. Scott McCrory, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thanks for having me on, Sean.
Hope you had a great Easter weekend, and I know a tough series with a very good Collingwood team that you played pretty close. How do you reflect back on that 5-game set?
It was a good series. Unfortunately, we had the flu bug creep into our room at the start after the Buffalo series, and on Game 3, first 2 games we played really well. Could have won either way, and then Game 3, the Monday night in Collingwood, we had 5 or 6 guys come to me before they got on the bus saying they're not 100%. And it showed. One was our goalie, Gavin McCarthy, who was under the weather, and they jumped on us, and we had to battle through it. But I was very proud. We were very proud of our guys for persevering and putting on a good effort. And could have went either way in Game 5 as well, but they got lucky, or they got the bounces, and they won it. So hats off to them.
So going through that, knowing that there's a possibility that's going to be one of the teams that you face at Nationals, what are some things you guys can take from that now as you have some time to work together and prepare for the tournament?
So we know that Collingwood's number 1 and rated in Canada. We beat them 3 times this year. We're the only team in our league to actually beat them twice, and then we beat them in the playoffs and gave them a proverbial real battle during the playoffs. So we're not afraid of them in that sense. Our guys understand that, hey, we're as good as anybody in our league, so just got to be prepared and ready to go. We'll take some time off here. I give the guys 10 days off to recuperate, get the flu bug out of our dressing room, and we've had some guys banged up, so just told them get physio, and we'll come back next Monday and restart it all up again.
Hey, you guys had a good season, but I think in particular the way you finished before the flu bug hit you. I mean, you won 8 in a row to end the regular season. You had a great first round series. And even with the flu bug played Collingwood tough. Do you feel like you're a team that really kind of came into your own, found your game towards the end of the year?
Yeah, the coaching staff with Jason Ward and Dean DeFazio, we talked about it, and we just said, listen, we're good. And our leadership group stepped up. They've had some meetings with some of the younger guys that had never experienced this type of scenario before. And they're like, hey, we got to pick it up. We're hosting the national championship, and they took it to like you said, the last 8 games we played exceptionally well. We went on the road and won some big games at home, and they understand that they're as good as anybody right now.
What was the difference in your team at the end of the season?
It was just everybody bought in, and we brought in a couple guys at the trade deadline that were leaders as well. So they helped out with our leadership group and just took it to the next level.
Once you found out you were hosting, as a general manager, you have to plan for now, but also plan for the future. And hosting is always a big responsibility on your shoulders. What was your approach to dealing with that? Managing the need to be good right away with, the long-term future of the team too.
Well, last year I took over, and Jamie Storr, who's the owner, said, "Scott, you do what you got to do." And I said, "Well, Jamie, I'm going to apply for the national championship because I think we need, in the OJHL, we need to host it. We have the best facility in the nation to host it." He goes, "You do what you got to do. You've been here before." And I said, "Okay, we'll be young this year. We're going to give the kids some experience, teach them." And then in the summertime, I said to Jamie and Andre Christensen, our other owner, I said, "Listen, we got to spend some money. We got to bring some older guys in here to make it the younger guys understand how to play." And they allowed me to go out and get some players. We started off, and then we had a real good start to the season. Then we kind of hit a lull and went for a proverbial down spiral. And then I said, "Okay, we need to revamp again." They're like, "Yeah, you do what you got to do." So they've allowed me to do what I have to do, and that's what we did. We brought in some guys, like I said, the trade deadline that really helped us out.
You've been a coach in this league in multiple different places. So what's the type of team you like to build? What's the kind of hockey you like to play?
I was a skill guy, but I like a team that likes to grind and pound and has skill. We've got a mixture of that. We got some real big, solid guys that like to hit, and we got some real skilled guys. And our goaltending's phenomenal with Gavin and Mikhail Christensen as our backup, so we're good.
What's it like, the organization process? You mentioned, you were a driving force behind wanting to host. What is it that made, in your mind, Oakville a great host, and what's the whole process been like for you?
Well, we put the bid together. Andre and I put the bid together with Teresa, and then we said, "Okay, set out and go. Okay, we need committee members." I hosted the World Junior A Challenge when I owned Whitby with Mark Mercier from Coburg, and I just said, "Okay, we need to have at least 12 to 15 people outside of the team that are on this committee." And we have close to 18 people now on our committee that have all taken different silos, and we're lucky. We had a lady that was leading us, and she had some family commitments. So I had another buddy who is an ex-OJHL player step up, and Will Mansour, and he's kind of taken the charge. He's very organized, a real estate guy, and he's got us all working on beating the drum the same way. So it's real good.
You mentioned you felt like Oakville is a great host. You have a great facility. What is it about your community, your facility, that you think really makes it a great place to showcase Junior A across the country?
Well, like I said, the facility is great. We have 4 pads. During the Centennial Cup, pad 2 and 3 will be practice rinks, so teams will be able to practice as long as they want. Pad 4 will be our medical and storage area. And Oakville Minor Hockey, both the Rangers and the girls organization, the Hornets, are 2 of the biggest minor hockey associations in Canada. I believe there's 3,400 boys and close to 3,300 girls playing hockey. So we come to our game, there's always at least 50, 60 young Rangers or Hornets at our game, and we've got some real good support from them right now. So we hope to have it packed. We've of our 5 school games, the noon games, we've already sold 4 of them out. We'll have 1,000 school kids from local schools they'll come into the games to cheer on the teams, where usually at noon during the Centennial Cup, it's you can throw a bowling ball through and you might hit 2 or 3 people. And this place will be rocking. 16 Mile will be rocking, and we've got great staff at 16 Mile with Todd Carey, the manager. They basically said, whatever you need, we'll make sure it works properly.
We haven't had a different Centennial Cup champion than the Brooks Bandits since 2018, but they're not in it this year. And so one thing we do know is there's going to be a new champion, and there are some great teams across the country, a more wide open field, and that excitement of a new champion. How much do you think that helps the tournament?
I think it gives extra life to all those teams that used to go, oh, you got to play Brooks in the finals.
Yeah.
I know when Coburg beat Brooks here in Coburg 8 years ago, people were like, wow. I was in Portage last year and I watched Brooks play, and I'm like, yeah, Ryan's got a real good program. The recruiting stuff, it works great. He's got an advantage over most of the teams in the country, but now from Summerside all the way out, everybody's got a chance to win this.
And there's some great teams across the country. I mean, we've seen the rankings. They've been moving around all year.
Yeah. It's people don't understand Tier 2 hockey in Canada is real good. Like, you had Kel McCarr, you had Tyson Jost, you had Fabry, all these guys Tier 2 Junior A to play in the NHL, and they're not nobodies in the NHL. So if you want to see good hockey, come on, watch the Centennial Cup in Oakville, May 9th to 19th.
Scott, you mentioned you being a skill player. I mean, we've seen the game evolve, and guys like yourself in the 80s and early 90s, 5'10", 185, you're listed at, that was considered small to be a skilled player. Nowadays, to be right in the wheelhouse. When you look back at your career, all-time single season leading scorer for Oshawa, you feel like with the game today, it would have been different for you if you went after the pros these days?
Yeah, I was about 6 years ago, I was in San Antonio. I worked for a company called Sports Tape, and David Poyle, who drafted me in Washington, comes up and he goes, Scott, if you were 18, 19 years old right now, I'd be giving you a multi-million-dollar contract. I'm like, no, thanks, Dave, but that doesn't do me any good right now, but I appreciate it. So,
yeah, you want to give me like 10% of that, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. I would have been happy. You would have seen my original NHL contract when I made my first year. I'm like, oh, that would have been nice, Dave. So,
how do you think the game has changed? And do you think it's for the better because it's opened the door for more skilled players and not, having to be 6'1", 6'2", 250?
Yeah, but the 6'1", 250 guys are all skilled now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the clutching and grabbing that we had to play through what made it harder for smaller guys like myself, but you had to be evasive. Now, like, I look at Point and all these guys, I played like them. I'd be like, oh, I could have been one of them, I think, maybe. But, hey, that's part of the game. You didn't have a guy like Scott Stevens. Like, my first NHL camp, I was with Washington. Guys were like, Scott, don't cut through the middle because Scotty's going to rock him. And the first camp, first shift, I got off the ice, and then a young guy from Quebec tried to do the same thing, and he got a hammer. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
There were some big guys. So,
well, you could have ended up like Paul Correa that one time, right? So,
oh yeah, Scotty was a great guy, but he during practices he played it like it was a game. It was, people don't realize like my first year, I was in Binghamton. We go to Hershey, and there was Jeff Chikrin, Johnny Stevens, Mike Stuthers. They're all 6'2", 225, and if you got in the corner with them, if you got out, then you had somebody like Craig Berube coming down your throat, and it's like, okay, this is a totally different game. So,
yeah, I've interviewed Mike Stuthers many times, and he's a nice guy, but he has a stare that could scare you even now. So,
oh yes, Struts would stare at you, touch a puck, kid, I'm going to break your wrist. Oh, okay, thanks, bud. Appreciate that.
You've been a coach for a long time too. How has coaching evolved, and how has the game evolved from that standpoint for you?
Coaching's really involved. The days of I had guys scream at me, try to get it. The kids are now, you got to show them multiple video clips. They're more visual than audio learners, where you were instructed and you did it. The players of today they want to see it live or see a clip of how it relates to how they play. As you see in the NHL, everybody's got an iPad out on the bench because they're checking to see, oh, why didn't I score there? Well, you didn't shoot the puck first of all. You tried to make a cross-ice pass when you should have been shooting 5-hole or trying to hit the bumper pad. But those are the things that comes, and it's a learning curve. It's like school. Everybody's learning differently in school, and it's the same thing in hockey.
A quick thought on the Junior A game. You mentioned you believe it's really strong. There's a lot of great teams across the country. We've heard a lot of talk of the role of Junior A hockey evolving a little bit here in recent years and coming. What do you see that role being? And do you believe there'll be an evolution of the role Junior A plays or how Junior A is approached?
Yeah, we're going to have to bridge that sooner than later. I think the new NCAA rules, you see people, I listen to CBS radio because it's an hour and a half drive for me from Oakville back to Oshawa every night. I listen to the guys, and they talked about the NLI and the football programs, this and this, guys driving Teslas. The games, well, the Penn State assistant coach goes to me, we got 10 guys on Tesla contracts for their football team. I'm like, oh, that's great. So, things are changing. We're still the CJHL is still a development league for NCAA, CHL, pro hockey. We're still gonna be that, but it's gonna be how do we keep developing for NCAA and CHL, because there's some good 16, 17-year-olds that don't want to go to school, but they want to play pro, and they're going to go to the CHL. And there's the 19 and 20-year-olds that, hey, I still want to go to school, and there might be a 20-year-old that's saying, you know what, can I get to Europe? Can I play in a second or third division in Europe, make some living, get over there, and then their skill from playing in our leagues will make them even better, and they'll go over to Europe and go, okay, I can play in the top leagues. There's a lot of guys that have done that too, so we got to continue just to work on the development model for CJHL.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and we're really looking forward to getting to Oakville and being there for the Centennial Cup, which I know is going to be a great tournament again this year.
Appreciate the time. Anytime, Sean. Let me know.
All right, that's Scott. Thank you, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again.
Okay, bud. Have a good day.
Thank you so much to Scott McCrory for joining us. Again, the head coach and general manager of the Oakville Blades, who are hosting this year's Centennial Cup. And they gave Collingwood a really good fight, a 4-1 series. But as he said, dealing with some sickness, a very good team that finished the season strong. I wouldn't take Oakville lightly at all. I think they'll be a good host. They have time to prepare. They ended the season really strong, and they'll be a team to watch at the Centennial Cup. And again, we're the streaming providers for the Centennial Cup on hockeycanada.ca coming up in May. And the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League is also trying to get their representatives ready for the Centennial Cup. And one of those teams certainly could be the Flin Flon Bombers, who were dominant in the first round, sweeping the Kindersley Clippers 4-0. Melfort Mustangs have also advanced onto the league semifinal, and they've been strong all season long. A 4-1 win for them over the Estevan Bruins, and a 4-0 win for the Battleford North Stars in the first round over the Millville Millionaires. We're just awaiting Game 7 between the Humboldt Broncos and the Weyburn Red Wings to find out exactly what the semifinal will be in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So we don't know who will face Flin Flon as of yet. We're joined now by Flin Flon Bombers head coach and GM Mike Reagan. And Mike, it's been a wonderful season for you guys. Appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here.
First round went really, I'm sure, exactly how you'd like. A pretty dominant victory over Kindersley. How do you reflect on it?
Yeah, we're real happy with the way things went. I think that down the stretch, we probably weren't playing our best hockey. And for us to get off to such a good start and kind of get our mojo back. And, we were able to shut them out in both games, in the Whitney Forum. And, we scored 12 goals in the two games. So some guys got that feeling back of scoring some goals and confidence. And I think at this time of the year, that's big for everybody.
I know I was starting to hear rumblings. Like, is there something wrong with Flin Flon down the stretch? And you guys had kind of secured your positioning for a while, but how are you feeling? Were you starting to have some doubts, or, what were you seeing creep in there that you had to correct before the playoffs?
Well, yeah, I think it's funny as a coach, obviously you don't want to show that there's any panic, right? And I think the first couple games that maybe we didn't play our best, you kind of just chalk that up to, well, it is what it is, and then as maybe, you're winning 1, you're losing 2, you're winning 3, you're losing 1, you're taking a couple steps forward, a couple steps backwards. There's no question that my assistant and I and our staff had some discussions about like what's going on here. But, when we really broke it down, I think the biggest thing was that the little details of our game just weren't the same. I don't think we took enough pride in doing the little things right. And, at that time of year when you're playing against teams that are fighting for playoff positions or their playoff lives, they're in playoff mode, and we just didn't have that same bite or that killer instinct. And I always kind of, whenever I was asked about it, I related it to, if you're asked to run as fast as you can, obviously you want to run as fast as you can, but if you have a dog nipping at your heels, you're going to run a lot faster. So we didn't have that dog chasing us, and I think that we learned a lot from it. I think that, in losing, you can sometimes learn a lot more than when you're winning. So we found out about the character of our group, the resiliency, and just how bad they want to put the work in and turn things around. So a credit to them. And I think adversity only makes you stronger. So it was good for us, even though it wasn't a lot of fun at the time. That's for sure.
Well, and I know you hear rumblings just naturally when things like that are going on. Everyone's starting to pick it apart. What could be wrong? And one of the things I heard a few times was, well, they made too many changes. The team was doing well. They messed around with it too much. Did you feel like chemistry and finding that chemistry after the trade deadline was a little bit of what was going on too?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to point the finger at that. I think the guys that we brought in, they're great individuals, and we really did our homework on the character and whether they checked that box off. So, I don't think. I guess there's when you have 5 new guys come in, of course there's going to be an adjustment period and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we still had our core guys that have been getting the job done, the entire year. So, those guys definitely don't deserve any of the blame or anything like that. And, we made the moves for a reason. And we feel like already in the first round that those moves paid off for us. I think we added to our depth. I think that we added, as far as experience goes, we added guys that have, played a lot of junior games, and we wanted that experience and that. And, when you're running into injuries in the playoffs and stuff like that, I'd rather go be able to, insert a guy that's got 150 games of junior under his belt rather than 35. And, so those are the things that, maybe the average fan doesn't realize and doesn't really dive into. And hey, they're fans. That's not their job. But, we put a lot of time and effort into the decisions that we make, and we don't just make them, spontaneously, so
it's not a video game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a lot easier when you're doing it on a video game, I guess. But we're happy with what we did, and obviously it's hard to see the guys leave that did leave. They're great individuals, and they were committed to the organization and did everything that was asked of them. But at the end of the day, we've got to make decisions with our minds and not our hearts.
Well, you've been at this with Flin Flon as head coach for almost 2 decades. So how much does that experience and being through those playoffs before and getting there and not quite getting over the hump at different times, dictate to you that, hey, this is why we need more depth, why we need more experience going into a run like this that we believe we can have?
Well, and that's what we told our guys is, like, we've lost 4 out of the last 6, league finals we've been to. And after we had lost, we had looked at the reasons why, and last year was crazy. I think we had 10 guys that were out with injuries and stuff like that, but that leads to the depth, right? And, then there was other years where we just thought that maybe we weren't deep enough on the back end, or maybe we didn't have enough scoring throughout our lineup and stuff like that. So we tried to learn from our mistakes. And I think that going into this deadline, we just wanted to make sure, like you said, would add guys with, a lot of experience. And you look at the NHL and teams that win, they quite often have a lot of experience. And, I know juniors a little bit different. You're talking about, 3 or 4 year junior careers, but it still matters. You need guys that have been there before. We added a guy in Jerome Gilbert that had been at the Centennial Cup last year. We had added a guy like Tyson Smith that had 70 points last year in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, played with some great players there. And the list goes on and that sort of thing. But, if we had to do things all over again, we'd still make those moves.
It is very different in junior A hockey, though, when you're bringing in players from other leagues, right? I mean, you're bringing in guys who don't know your buildings, who don't know the other teams, who, they're completely unfamiliar. There's got to be a period of transition for those guys that everybody would understand that going to a new league entirely is going to take some time to adjust.
There's a ton of adjustment, and we did talk to each guy. I think that, ideally everybody would like those players just to come in here and light the world on fire. But you got to think there's a lot of pressure on those players too. Coming to a team that has been ranked, number one in the country for, I don't know, at that time, probably 12 weeks straight or whatever. And, that can be intimidating. And I think coming to a community that's got so much passion for its hockey, meeting new teammates, getting new billets and stuff like that. And when you've got 5 guys that are doing that, I think that they all felt a little bit of the pressure, and it does take some time. But they're great individuals, and the league is completely different. I mean, coming to the SJHL, and I mean, again, I obviously been doing this a long time, but players that have came here from other leagues, and whatever league it is, they always talk about how physical the SJHL is, and how difficult it is, to have time and space and that sort of thing. And I think it is the league that is the most similar to a pro style game, where, you're going to have to pay the price to be successful here. And some guys do have a difficult time with that, finding the time and space and learning how to score in the SJHL. And so there is an adjustment period. And I think that, some guys handle it better than others, but in saying that, these guys have been great teammates. They've come here, done everything that we've asked of them. And, I think that they're going to have their impact here in the playoffs.
Well, it's just a reality, too, of where you are on a depth chart and what the needs are for that player, right? I mean, I think of Tyson Smith as an example. When he's with Selkirk last year, he's their second leading scorer. He's out there on the top line, on the top power play. He needs to produce at a certain level. Comes into the situation he's in with you guys, and he's not going to be in that same position. So how could you possibly replicate those numbers? I remember that with Swift Current in the Western Hockey League in 2018, adding guys that were on the first line of their teams. They're not going to replicate that statistical performance. It's impossible. There's only one puck.
I think that the biggest thing is we're not basing their success or what they're contributing to the team based on points alone, and that went into a lot of our decisions as well. Like Tyson Smith can still play, a depth third line role for us if he's not in the top 6, and bring other things to the table. Jerome Gilbert, again, he was a guy that was playing on a first line out in Yarmouth, and here he's kind of been all over the lineup, but a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. And then Gruner for us, like, the thing that we loved about him is we felt that he was going to be a guy that just made us tougher to play against, in on the forecheck, a great face-off guy, a guy that bangs bodies, goes to the dirty areas. So we're looking at what they can do besides for put the puck in the net and make us a tougher team to play against, and then Bax has got a great shot from the point and, has great offensive instincts, and we needed a guy that gets a lot of pucks to the net and that sort of thing. And then, with Connor Ryan, I mean, he's a very smart defenseman that moves pucks well. And, a young guy. Yeah, he's probably, of the 5 guys, he's the guy with the least amount of experience. But, we wanted to add to our depth of a puck-moving defenseman, and he definitely brings that to the table.
At the beginning of the year, you guys have been basically in the rankings near the top all season long. At what point did you realize it was a special group, and what is it about this group in your mind that makes it stand out and unique among the teams in the league and maybe in the country?
Yeah, I don't know when it was that we kind of the switch flicked in the head where it's like, geez, we've got a really good team here. I think as we went on, I'm I base our team's success or how good of a team we have based on how we can play on the road. And for us, we had the best road record in the league with the toughest travel. And I think that's where you kind of realize, geez, this group is pretty special. But I think it starts in practice. Like, this is the most competitive group I've ever had. Today in practice, we're, doing a little bit of conditioning, and our guys are competing, just in a conditioning drill. And, there's been times throughout the year where I've had to blow the whistle and shut down a drill because I'm scared someone's going to get hurt because they're so competitive. So I've never seen a group this competitive, and our work ethic is through the roof.
When it comes to preparing for this next round, how tough is it to have to wait and see who you're going to be playing? I mean, right now you're having to prep for two teams. Could be Weyburn, could be the Battlefords. How much does that impact your strategy for the second round?
I think it's a lot tougher on my assistant coach who does all the pre-scouting. He's having to do, in all fairness, we've been watching, both teams that we could be playing. I think, the nice thing is we've got a long history of playing against the Battlefords in the playoffs. Played them in the finals last year. The year before we played them in the first round. Braden's been around for a long time. I know the way they like to play. They know the way we like to play. As far as Weyburn goes, I mean, right now we're getting a great opportunity just to watch them against Humboldt, the last couple games here and that. So there's a lot of conversations going on between myself and my assistant Cole, and even our scouting staff, and I think that, we'll be prepared. We're excited about the challenge. I think we're chomping at the bit here as a staff and as a team. Our last game was Wednesday, and it feels like it was 2 weeks ago already. So we're raring to go, and I think the guys are sick of practice. At this time of year, this is the time where you're not really wanting to practice as much as a player. You just want to play and that. So we've been just working hard at trying to keep these guys focused and understanding that there's work to do so that you can hit the ground running again, for game one on Thursday night.
Mike, I want to sort of wrap with, you've been with the Bombers for so much of your life as a player, and then since 2006 as head coach. What is it about this program, this community, the whole experience that has kept you passionate for this long, and that, gets you going to work every day with the same level of enthusiasm and excitement to try to make it the success it's become?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors. I grew up with Maroon in my blood. We were billets when I was a kid. So, I was there in 92, 93 when they won it all. I took a puck to the forehead from Chris Constant that left me with, a scar about 3 inches long. And so I've always worn that and, was able to jump on the ice when they won it all and that, in game 6 where they forced game 7 against Melville. Just, growing up, being such a big Bomber fan and understanding what this team means to the community, that's huge. And then getting 4 years to play for the Bombers, and then, obviously take over as the head coach. What, I was supposed to be the assistant coach and then kind of got thrown into the fire and that sort of thing. But this community keeps you motivated. I love Flin Flon. Very proud to be from Flin Flon. I think that it's an unbelievable hockey community, and the fans, they drive you because, we've had a lot of success with Quebec players here, and, in the early going, a lot of them would kind of say that it was like being in a mini Montreal, with the Canadians where, if you win, it's awesome. They let you know and that, but when you lose, they also let you know and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of pressure in this community, some good, some bad for sure. But I think that's what keeps you motivated. My assistant as well is a local guy, so he understands the passion of this community and what the Bombers mean to everybody here. So we're not only trying to win it for ourselves, as a team in that, but we want to win it for every guy that's put on that Bomber jersey and for every Bomber fan out there. So we're carrying the weight of Bomber Nation here. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm very honored to be the coach of the Bombers, and hopefully we can bring that championship back home this year.
And being as close as you've been, and it must just fuel that fire so much more.
Oh yeah, I'm getting sick of second place. That's for sure. There's a lot of silvers over the last couple of years here, and that's, so we're chomping at the bit here, and that's definitely another thing that keeps you motivated.
Thanks so much, Coach. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll chat again on the road to the Centennial.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks to Mike Reagan, head coach and general manager of the Flin Flon Bombers, and we await tonight's Game 7 between the Humboldt Broncos and Weyburn Red Wings to see what the second-round matchups, the semifinal matchups, will be in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League on the road to the Centennial Cup. Of course, that's just the tip of the iceberg for all the teams and leagues that we have to keep our eye on for that event coming up in May in Oakville. And we're the streaming provider on hockeycanada.ca. I can't wait to get to Oakville. It's going to be a wonderful tournament this year, crowning a new champion for the first time since 2019. Heritage Junior Hockey League is not crowning a new champion. We've been following that league, of course, very closely the past few years, and it was a great season. Kudos to the HJHL and all their teams. Some very competitive and entertaining hockey. The two top teams facing off in the championship again this year, and a much more competitive championship series this time around. Went 6 games, the home team winning every game up until Game 6. And it was scoreless until the final minute of the second period when Easton Dean broke through. And Grady Nicholas with back-to-back shutouts against a Sylvan Lake team that had scoring all throughout their lineup. What a performance by Nicholas to lead his team to their 3rd straight Heritage Junior Hockey League championship, and the final team to book their ticket to the Alberta Junior B Provincials, which are coming up this week on HNLive.ca from Peace River, the home of Darcy Hogan, of course, when he was a coach there. There's a statue paying tribute to Darcy Hogan in front of their arena, and we'll certainly be talking about that and sharing some memories of him throughout the event. A very special tournament, and 6 very good teams that are going to be in action trying to crown a Junior B champion in Alberta. The defending champion Wainwright Bisons made it back despite getting down 2-0 in their league final, and day 1 will start with the St. Albert Merchants taking on the Okotoks Bisons. The Wainwright Bisons then play the Stampeders, and North Peace Navigators taking on the Lumber Barons in the final game of the day. 3 games a day at HNLive.ca. Chris Colwell, Dave Dawson, and our whole team will have you covered in what should be a wonderful event again this year. And we also want to let you know that we are the streaming provider for hockeycanada.ca this week for 3 tune-up games for the Canadian para hockey team. Coming up tomorrow at 1:25, Friday at 5:25, and Saturday at 10:25 in the morning, all Mountain Time. The Canadian team taking on the United States on hockeycanada.ca as they prepare for World Championship hockey action. Now our top play of the week for Adrenaline Source for Sports, Calgary's premier store for hockey, lacrosse, and team apparel. Recently renovated and bigger and better than ever. A one-stop shop for all your sporting good needs. Visit us online at adrenalinegroup.ca. We fit your game. If you check out Adrenaline's social media, you can see they have a picture where the Ukrainian team came to visit them. They were a big sponsor of that event. And we have so many choices for our top play of the week, but we'll go to that Hockey for Ukraine series and the hat-trick goal for Gavril Simchuk, who was their leader on and off the ice during the training camp and the exhibition games this week. A beautiful goal going wide and cutting back across the front of the net for his 3rd goal of the game on Saturday in an 8-3 Ukraine win. And again, we wish the Ukrainian team nothing but the best of luck as they go off to the Division 1A World Championships in Denmark. What a week on HN Live. What a show on HN Live today. Thanks to Alex back in our studios. I'm Sean Mullen. Dave and Chris will be with you in Junior B Provincials all throughout this week, and we'll be back next week with more HN Live today.